Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
The fourth dimension will collapse upon itself, you stupid bitch.
Shut up, I'm a man and I know what's good for me.
Bountiful penis. Amen.
Boy, my ass is sore.
You can get pink eye from farting in a pillow?
Yeah, but you gotta be bare-assed.
I'm gonna invent a toothbrush for your butthole.
It does the trick.
Paddington Bear.
He's a homewrecker?
Yeah, he wrecks homes.
You are a murderer of love.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome back to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. With me today are Emily.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, God. Wesley.
Hello.
And we are bringing back our friend Dylan. Hey, Dylan.
Booyakasha! How we
Hey,
all doing?
Dylan. So great.
Yeah, and we watched this week I Know Who Killed Me.
Gasp.
Who?
And Dylan's going to explain to us why it's awesome and it's his favorite movie. And we are going to wonder how that could possibly be. But before we get started, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass?
I do have something extremely interesting and probably a little tasteless, but I'm drinking a Mickey Mouse because without our dear House of Mouse torturing child actors and ruining them, we wouldn't have been tortured by this movie.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
So how do you really feel?
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, I am Team Aubrey, so I am drinking a blueberry hibiscus tea out of a blue coffee mug. Because I'm assuming that's how the colors worked, right?
Wesley, I think blue is probably the drink you have the most. It's usually just blue.
It is. It's a very easy color to make.
Nice. I have myself here a Blue Lagoon, which is vodka, blue curacao, and lemonade.
Team Aubrey.
Yeah, I'm Team Dakota, and mine's called Dakota and the Piano Man. It's a gin and tonic, like the song Piano Man, with grenadine to make it red, like Dakota.
Very nice.
So boring. I've got an ice cream drink. It's really great.
What do you mean, an ice cream drink?
Have you never had an ice cream drink before?
No.
I thought you just said your drink.
I know. It's a Mickey Mouse. It's got ice cream in it.
Well, you did not say that at the beginning
Well, it's
of
because
your
I got
drink
distracted
introduction.
by your silence. It's basically cookies blended up with ice cream and vodka and chocolate liqueur.
I got to go back. You got distracted by our silence, so...
Yes, you were silent after I said things, and then you guys were just quiet.
You stopped talking because no one else was talking.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dylan, welcome back. What's new with you? What's going on?
Nothing too much, really. Just I'm ready to be done with being stuck in my home and just going to like one or two spots. But who hasn't said that 1,000 times already?
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm just ready to get back to and also wondering if I'm going to have a job. Hey-oh.
Yeah.
We're going through a big merger with the company I work for, and I don't know if I'm going to have a job in 2 months. So that'll be fun.
You got other plans, though.
Oh, yeah. Uber.
Yeah.
Lyft.
Heck yeah. All right.
Piano instructor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dylan, can you play piano?
No, but I can get a big, gaudy blue ring.
He cannot play piano, but he was in Blue Man Group. So, Dylan, what movie made you a true movie fan?
First, I would say my mom has always told me the first movie she took me to was the Sesame Street movie, Follow That Bird.
Classic.
And yes, and she said that I just sat there just staring at the screen, dead silent. And how you guys know me being dead silent doesn't happen. So she knew that I was going to be a lover of movies. And then another instance was when I was a teenager, my mom took me to Uptown to Famous Dave's restaurant. And then we went to...
Love that movie.
Shut up. But then she took me to go see The Godfather when it was on like its 25th or 30th anniversary. They re-released it into a limited amount of theaters. And that was the first time I ever saw The Godfather. So I would say, yeah, seeing that on the big screen, that was like a big, like, yep, this is the thing. This is awesome.
So neither of those two movies, Dylan, though, are horror movies. So what's the horror movie that really got you into the genre?
If anything, 1978's Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. I know you guys like to knock me for Escape from New York, but
would you call that horror though?
No, it's a John Carpenter though.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. But Halloween is just kind of that. It was kind of the first movie that took horror and brought it into like suburbia type of thing. Everybody likes to call it, it's the first slasher movie, but it is, but it isn't at the same time. There were a lot of stuff that was made before then, but it kind of kicked off what later became 80s horror.
Which is your favorite?
Yeah, 80s is some of my favorites.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us today. This movie was kind of horror, and kind of thriller, and kind of bad.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into it. So if you have not listened to our podcast before, during the first half, we will be discussing and reviewing I Know Who Killed Me. And the second half will feature our Battle of Twits, a creative competition between Dylan and myself. Our current leaderboard is Wes with 6, Emily with 3, I have 3, Matt has 2, and our guests have 1 after cashing in last week. Again, Dylan comes in the week after somebody cashes in for the guests.
Dylan, you get no points.
But the cinephiles were nice enough to gift us with that Oscar special as part of their cashing in. So that'll be coming out to you all next week. So check that out. But let's talk about I Know Who Killed Me.
Do you want to?
I really do.
Okay.
Which is directed by Chris Sivertson and features Lindsay Lohan, Julia Ormond, and Neil McDonough.
I'm so over my head here. I can't handle this. I just can't. I'm only one kid.
You got something you want to share with the class there, Hal?
Just you gave me a fright.
Aubrey, played by Lindsay Lohan, is a senior in high school with normal, rich, teenage white girl problems until she's kidnapped. Her parents and friends are stupid, and the cops can't find her. Aubrey awakes in a dungeon of sorts and is tortured by the crazy member of the Blue Man Group. Somehow, she is found by the side of the road 17 days later, wakes up in the hospital with her hand and foot amputated, and doesn't recognize her parents. So, right off the bat, did you guys, notice the color in this movie?
Wait, were there
glad you said
blues
it.
and reds?
This was my favorite movie so far. up through the first act. No, I'm just kidding. It sucked. I texted the group at about 15 minutes in going, what the fuck am I doing here? But I will say it was colorful, and I did enjoy that.
Yeah, and they put so much focus onto it, Wesley. Did you love that too?
Well, when you start to try to read into what it really means at the very beginning, it doesn't help. But did either of you, so Dylan, you've seen this before. Has anybody else seen this before?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so how early on did you pick up on the colors being meaningful other than just like a 2007 gimmick at being cool looking?
When it was all red in the strip club, I was like, okay, something to do. Oh, red is blood. Oh, okay, something's going on. And then immediately everything was blue, like directly right after that. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
It didn't really hit me over the head completely until they got to the football game, when everything in the football game was like super blue, and then everything else was really like just blacks and whites.
Well, that's when they started doing some crazy graphics over top. There were a couple football hits like on the field where like they left this shadow blue haze of where the player was a second before, and then like the last tackle they showed was a red and a blue player tackling each other, and I was like, I feel like they're about to go somewhere. This movie's changing too much already, and it's only like a half hour in.
Yeah, and then I think they really drilled it home when they did the one of the shots was like Lindsay Lohan with a gag in her mouth, and she's black and white, but the gag is blue.
And her dress was blue. She was put into like a blue dress.
Yep.
All the instruments the guy was using were all blue, and he put like a blue liquid on her. Yeah, it was stupid.
The thing about this, while I was watching this movie, dealing with the colors and everything, is I started reading some more reviews on it on Wikipedia about the movie, and some people attributed it to a type of film called giallo.
What's a giallo?
Giallo is the Italian term
For yellow?
designating mystery fiction and thrillers. The word giallo is Italian for yellow.
Yeah.
And the reason why they were called giallo books is because they were cheap paperbacks where all the covers were yellow. They were yellow covers. So, well, from that developed into a film style known as giallo movies, where they kind of say, in the context of the 20th century, literature and film, especially among English speakers and non-Italians in general, giallo refers specifically to a particular Italian thriller horror genre that has mystery or detective elements and often contains slasher, crime fiction, psychological thriller, psychological horror, sexploitation, and less frequently, supernatural horror elements. So once I kind of thought of it in that way, that maybe this is what the director was trying to make, was kind of a modern giallo movie. Stylistically, I think he did okay, and there are those elements in there of, like, you really don't know, like, in the giallo thing, a murder happens, and then you don't see the killer until, like, the last 5 minutes of the movie or 10 minutes of the movie, which was very spoilers of this movie. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, it was that person. Oh, all right. I didn't realize that. But once I watched it a little bit more in that reference, I kind of didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it a second time. I would still say it's not a good movie, but stylistically, I'll give it some credit for the style. If that's what they were going for, they did a pretty decent job.
I don't think the director was going for that, though, sadly. I think he may have accidentally made a giallo movie because his main influences that he was attributing to this film were Lynch and Hitchcock.
Yeah, no,
oh, really?
Then he whiffed it.
He may have accidentally stumbled upon falling into this giallo film type, but I don't think that was what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to make a David Lynch film for teenagers. And, I mean, missed big time.
Yeah.
I mean, even hearing what the giallo movies were, and even if that was the intention, does that make it better? Like, I don't really care what the director was trying to do if it still sucked.
It at least means that it had some sort of intention behind it, behind the decisions, where I feel like this movie doesn't necessarily have any real intentions other than to just be exploitative towards a former Disney star.
I felt they were trying to be too artsy. They were like, I'm going to do all of these things all at the same time to give it this really interesting, introspective, artsy approach. And it did not work because it was too damn obvious.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And with the obviousness, like, one thing that's not obvious is who the killer is. Like, I feel like this is one of those, and it's one of the reasons I don't like the murder mystery genre, is because a lot of the times they'll throw so many different options and so many red herrings in that by the end, it's like, it turns out to be someone that was, like, distantly connected.
Yeah.
I would like to point out, though, the third message I sent to Ben while I was watching this was, does the piano thing even matter?
Well, that's not the only thing that doesn't come back.
It does matter, though. The piano thing does matter.
Yeah.
Because it's the killer, or for another reason?
Because it's the killer. That's
Well,
the only reason.
I just meant like the gardener.
Oh, yeah. The gardener was a complete red herring, and they were like, nipple tattoo. Look at my nipple.
Oh, nipple tattoo.
Not only was it a red herring, but one of the very first camera shots we're introduced to after the strip scene is literally a camera coming towards the gardener, and then it stops to zoom in on the license plate, and then it comes up again. Like, it's unnecessary cinematography just to try to tease that this might be the killer. Like, it's just lazy.
And then later, when Lindsay Lohan's character is walking away from her stupid friends after the football, she's like hiding behind a tree as the gardener in the truck drives by, and they like zoom in on him. And it's like, really? Are we trying to be this obvious?
Well, and I think that that's kind of interesting because of how they named the movie. You kind of almost assume that Lindsay Lohan might know who her killer is. So maybe that's a hint because she's hiding from this gardener.
Are you trying to defend this movie?
No, not at all.
Stop right there, though. This movie, the title does not fit this movie, though, because nobody killed her. She didn't say, I know who my killer is going to be. It's, I know who killed me. Bitch, no one killed you.
And
You're
also,
alive.
they tried to kill your sister. So you're even more separated from this.
Spoilers.
Oh my gosh, Wesley. We can't get into that yet.
So sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, going back to kind of with what you guys were saying about just because it had that doesn't make it a better movie or a good movie. I'm one of those people where I'm kind of guilty of, I can always find something I enjoy in like a bad movie. And big example that I always love to give is people hated the Rob Zombie movie House of a Thousand Corpses. And I would say it's not a favorite of mine either. I really don't like it. But his intent was to make a movie that looked like and took place in like the 1970s and was meant to look like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre style movie. That's what he wanted to make, like a grungy looking movie. And if you watch both of those movies, they have a similarity to it. So if that was his intention to make something like that, and he did a good job at it. So, and I would say, again, if that was his intention, the guy did good. But since this wasn't, this massive failure.
Yeah, and in addition to that, it does try to capitalize on like the trend at the time of these torture porn movies. There's a lot of torture and gore within this movie, and it was to the point where I texted Emily and was like, Emily, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it through this movie. And that was after the dry ice is put on the fingers, and it shows like the finger skin peeling away from the fingers. I cringed and almost was like, I got to bow out.
Yeah.
I survived that one. I was like, this is fine. I've read Berserk. I've seen scary things. This is nothing to me, apparently. I think it also helped that us talking about past movies and me being around some more horror, I'm starting to become a little bit more numb to some of the horror elements, especially when they're like practical effects, because I can see the workmanship that goes into that. So thanks, Dylan. Way to help me get into this.
Welcome. But I would say, honestly, the whole finger scene and like the violence of it, honestly, it felt like that could have been studio notes. Like they were watching a rough cut of the movie, and maybe because if he was going for a Lynch or a Hitchcock style movie, Lynch and Hitchcock aren't exactly known for making, gory, violent movies. So I'm wondering if the director did kind of make that, and then the studio went, nope, this is going to be rated R. We need something that's going to bring horror fans in. So we need some blood and some gore. Now, I could be totally wrong on that, but it just kind of has that feeling to it where it's like, this just doesn't match up with kind of what the rest of the movie, what else is going on in the movie.
Just relax. I'm telling you, this is not a big deal. On the count of 3, remove the ice. 1, 2, 3.
Aubrey claims to be Dakota Moss, but the FBI and Aubrey's parents don't believe her. The psychiatrist thinks Aubrey's developed a split personality, and Dakota refuses to tell the FBI more about her kidnapper. After being released from the hospital, Dakota is taken home, and we begin to see major character differences between Aubrey and Dakota, and also that Dakota has wounds seemingly appearing out of nowhere. While examining Aubrey's laptop, the feds find a short story titled Dakota, and find that Dakota's DNA matches Aubrey's.
This fucking movie. I swear. When Lindsay Lohan wakes up in the hospital and she's freaking out about her body limbs being gone and her parents come in, I first off had no idea why everyone was wearing masks around her when the one nurse lady wasn't wearing a mask and was like, oh, honey, I'll go get the doctor, as this girl's screaming with no limbs. And everything about it seemed like they were just wanting to keep Aubrey from being healed and feeling comfortable and safe and secure. It just seemed like they were setting her up for the worst experience to wake up from that.
Yeah, when they found Aubrey in that ditch, you could see the relief on everyone's face that she was all right, but after looking closer, they realized she was all left. Dad joke!
That's so stupid, Ben. But actually, though, her family was just like, not treating her great at all. They weren't trying to support her. They weren't going through like the trauma she's experienced. It's so stupid and insane. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, Lindsay Lohan, the difference between Aubrey and Dakota, whatever this whole thing is, They were the same. They like acted the same. She was the same because we didn't know shit about other Aubrey either.
Well, no, I would say this. Aubrey acted and was a bit of a tease with the gardener because she was giving him the eye in the first act. But Dakota goes full on whore. There's the difference.
When is she a whore with the gardener?
Not with the gardener, with the boyfriend. When she just takes the boyfriend upstairs.
Oh my God,
and
we
like,
don't see that for
this.
forever. And even then, it was like Lindsay Lohan's character was still the same. She was still just being Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, at that point, the boyfriend should have clearly seen the differences between how she was acting now, and he was still willing to just jump into bed with her immediately. Like, I just wanted to get some.
Yeah, he was like, sure, give me that pussy.
Yeah.
He went from weeping to, yeah, I'll follow you upstairs within like 10 seconds.
Right.
And then like just the loudest moaning, knowing that the mom was downstairs and she scrubbed that one corner of the sink for the entire time.
That sex scene.
I don't know why she didn't just leave, but I do have to ask, when they went upstairs, was anybody else hoping for a robotic hand job?
When she shook his hand and it squeezed a little too hard, that was my immediate thought. Yeah.
Oh my
Let's go upstairs.
God.
I was like, oh, this is about to get techno.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. This movie, though, is so unsexy. Like, that sex scene is not sexy. Her pole dancing is atrocious.
You mean walking around in circles?
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what she was
She took pole dancing
doing.
lessons to learn that. What were the lessons?
This is a pole. All right, see you tomorrow.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
Everything, though, had such weird tone shifts. Not just the sex scene, but just like it was trying to be teen comedy a little bit. And then, you know, it had the gore. And then on top of it, it had some weird dream sequences going on that I don't know what genre that would be, but it definitely seemed out of place. And then on top of that, we had this thriller element with the FBI, and they were so useless and awful. It felt like a TV show, honestly, but like a bad TV show.
I was going to say this movie looked like a Lifetime movie, like just with a little bit more budget.
How did none of those FBI agents have a rubber? That's like, it's everyday Carrie stuff right there.
Isn't that what the character says? Like, as he's running around, it's like, how do none of you have it?
Oh, does he?
How do you
I don't
not
know.
have a condom? I don't even remember.
I did like that actor, though.
But that scene made absolutely no sense. He goes out to get in his car, can't start it, goes around asking for a condom, then runs back in, then leaves in Lindsay Lohan's car.
The goal was to always leave in Lindsay Lohan's car because she was in the trunk.
It just made no. It was just like, what?
It was the perfect crime.
Why couldn't they just leave in her car anyways?
Because they would have checked it.
I guess.
It was one kind of smart thing that they did.
That honestly was like one of the few things in this movie where I was like, okay, like I can buy how they snuck past. Horny kid's got a horn.
The representation of the FBI in this movie, where all of the FBI agents are standing around in shirts that say FBI on them. And then we see the end of this act where the FBI people find this short story, Dakota, and they find that Dakota's DNA matches Aubrey. And then we don't see the feds for the rest of the movie.
I know.
That's it. That's the end.
And even the fact that as they are talking to Dakota, they're really mean. They're like, you're hindering the investigation and you're not helping us. And how dare you? And she's like been suffering a trauma for 17 days. Like they literally say she's been gone for 17 days. And obviously they don't know that she's actually Dakota. But if she's suffering a trauma and the psychiatrist is saying, no, she has like a split personality thing going on and her other half is delusional and is trying to process this, they all just like, oh, well, we're just going to yell at her more.
That was one thing that bothered me the whole time until we finally, I won't spoil the third act because I know we're all about continuity here. But for the entire first part of this movie, they allude to so many different horror tropes, and I could not figure out whether this was a body swap movie where somebody else like jumped into Lindsay Lohan when she was getting traumatized, if it was an identical twin movie, which I won't spoil it, or if it was a schizophrenia movie, which is what they lean on heavily in the first act. But like, I don't understand why you tease all of those. I guess I do understand, but like, did that make it better for anybody else? Because it definitely didn't for me. It made it worse for me.
No, it just makes it more confusing when it was just directionless.
Mhm.
Like I said, it seems like this had either studio notes or heavy editing, because also I guess it did say that the director says he has a 3.5-hour director's cut of this movie.
Oh my God, really? Why?
I don't think it's going to be...
Restore the Sivertson cut.
I don't think we're going to get a Snyder cut of I Know Who Killed Me. And he said, yeah, it had more to do with like the FBI procedure and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like...
The stuff we really care about.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Ben. There's your answer to why the FBI's gone, because it...
No, they still would have dipped right at that point.
Yeah. There were definitely a couple things in here that I just have to get off my chest, because I've got plenty for my observations. So I got to let it spill over a little bit. But the fact that the FBI investigated her computer and found a story named Dakota when her schizophrenic, they're assumed that she comes back schizophrenic as a Dakota, is mind-blowing that didn't trigger right away and that they had to go back through it a second time. Then when Dakota actually tries to log into the computer, she guesses the password on the first try, and it's her own goddamn name. On Aubrey's computer, her password is Dakota. Now, follow me down this real quick. And this is a little bit of a spoiler because they are two different people. But the fact that Aubrey wrote a story about her unknown, separated at birth twin sister and guessed her full first and last name for some story that she's writing.
It's unbelievable.
It took me right out of it.
What?
Unbelievable in the sense that, oh my God, this is so not believable and stupid, but also unbelievable of like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here.
And you know what else is unbelievable? She used Ask Jeeves.
That was great.
I also found it very amusing, the scene with the photograph when Oscar nominee Julia Ormond, let's not forget she's in this and she was up for an Oscar, shows her that picture and Dakota goes, "Where did you get this picture? Where did you get this? I have like an identical one." It's like, really?
It's not even identical.
But it was just kind of like, oh, you guys took that exact same picture on that, exact day. It was just like, come on.
Well, that actually was an interesting part because they do at the end of the movie have a little bit of a video montage of both the scene from that picture. So Aubrey on the beach in that, like, I think it was a blue swimsuit or something. And then they also have...
You think? The subtlety of this movie maybe slipped past you? Yeah.
And then they have a video in like the same film style of another little girl in a red, I think it was red. A red, red
Wesley,
swimsuit.
stop.
But she's like sitting off like nowhere near that. So whether it was an identical picture or not, like that's not what they show. But they also hint at them having this stigmata thing, and we'll go into that more later, but they tease that they feel each other's pain in that moment. But that made me really curious, like maybe at one point the father did feel guilty about separating them, so he did bring them both to that beach to meet each other that day.
No, I don't think so.
Come on, give me something.
So.
No.
Hi, Mare.
Hello.
How you doing? Oh! Oh! Oh!
Honey, did I ever mention to you that Hallie was a twin?
No, I'm afraid you forgot that little detail.
Don't feel bad, Mary. He never mentioned it to me either.
Dakota realizes Aubrey and her are identical twins that were separated at birth, but that are connected through twin magic, which causes the injuries of one to appear on both of them. She confronts Aubrey's dad, who confirms the twin thing. The two of them set out and find Aubrey's torturer, who is probably a member of Blue Man Group, aka the piano teacher. Daniel gets killed and Dakota captured, but ultimately Dakota kills the piano teacher and saves Aubrey, who had been buried alive.
Well, I wouldn't say she saves her. She just lies. She just gets in the fetal position and lays next to her.
It's implied. This is the one thing I think the movie implied well, that they survive.
Yeah.
And that their two half souls were connected once again.
They are one.
And happily ever after.
Was Aubrey wearing a wedding dress?
Sure, Dylan.
I didn't notice that.
I swear to God, she's wearing like a white. She's wearing like a white dress, and I was like,
it was
did
white
he put
and
it?
lacy. We can assume wedding or weird, creepy doll thing.
It was just really weird.
So now that we know who the killer is, and we have to assume the motivation was because she quit piano lessons.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Which is just the dumbest
Absolutely
thing.
the dumbest thing.
No, I mean, is it though? Like in terms of killer searching for a motive, like is there any motive that's really like dumb? Like sure, it's dumb, but all of them are dumb.
Usually
Yes.
revenge, I give them, like movie revenge, I give them a pass. I had to specify.
I will agree that they are all dumb, but for the sake of entertainment, this was dumb. Like there was no reason for me to feel like that was justification for him to torture and kill people. But to the same point, why did he chop off a leg?
Because it pushes the pedal.
Yeah.
So he chops off one hand and one leg?
No, he eventually chops off all the limbs, I thought.
Yeah. No, I don't know. He wasn't even a serial killer.
He was done with Aubrey.
Yeah, he only killed one girl and tried to kill technically two by the end of the movie, but really was only
unbeknownst to him.
Two. Yeah, right.
He had no idea they were twins.
He had no idea. He was like, what are you doing back here? But yeah, the pictures that Dakota sees from the FBI of the other girl is just one arm and one leg missing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. They did show the autopsy.
Yeah, and it was also the hand that he cut off was the hand that Aubrey couldn't do that, like her right hand where she couldn't. He goes, watch me as I do it. He goes, see, it's easy.
That doesn't help. That doesn't help.
I'm not saying it does.
But Jesus Christ, practice your fucking piano. You're paying for lessons. Practice.
What was with that owl?
Just more symbolism.
Yep.
They just crammed it down and shoved it into your face.
That was a leading question so that I could get this joke in. Do you want to hear my guess?
Yes.
Sure.
I think it's because of the title of the movie. I know who killed me.
Dad joke. Terrible.
Horrid.
There's our second dad joke.
But when she looks almost directly into the camera and says, I know who killed me, that was finally saying the name that I wanted. Like, that's what I wanted from my movies. Like, if you're going to go ridiculous, like, look into the camera and say the title of your movie. You nailed it. Thank you, Lindsay Lohan.
That was the one thing for you?
Well, I will say, I don't like this movie. It's not good. I didn't hate it.
I agree.
I mean, it was bad, but it didn't elicit the hatred. Like, and I think a lot of that has to do with expectations, where like this movie was, Roper called it the worst movie of the 2000s. It won 8 out of 9 Razzies it was nominated for. Like, I expected it to be absolutely atrocious, and it was just bad.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, Ben. This movie, for me, was something that I had so little expectations. I just knew that it was bad, and I knew that there was a cult following. And as I'm watching it, I'm going, I don't know why this is a cult following, why there is a cult following. And then after I turned it off, I went, no, I can understand why it would be fun to get drunk and sit here and watch with your friends and laugh at a really bad movie that has some weird, funky colors. It's a lot like The Room, where I could see people going to see this at a small theater and chucking not spoons, but blue roses at the theater.
Yeah, and the twists in this movie were also, like, they're so nonsensical that you have to just kind of be like, yeah, I guess so. Like, they literally made up stigmatic twins. That's just a thing they made up. Like, there's twin connections that you hear about, but like the stigmatic twins idea where like you're actually like losing limbs because someone else are getting shot by the same bullet despite...
That wasn't documentary footage?
No, that was not.
Oh my God.
Now, I would actually say the video that Dakota watches, that gentleman, Art Bell, that was like the host, he actually, I think he's dead now. I think he's passed away, but he hosted a skepticism radio show, like a national radio show where people would call in with just like their UFO stories or, haunting stories or stuff like that. So I kind of, if you knew who Art Bell was, which I didn't know about him until I'd seen this movie now a second time, I now know who he is, that I was like, it's kind of fun that they got the actual guy that's really into that goofy conspiracies and not the,
Was this even a conspiracy movie?
Well, no, I mean, just like the people who believe in like UFOs and or the stigmatic twin idea, like,
okay.
That's the kind of stuff that people would call in about. So I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of nice that they got that.
I mentioned to Ben that this show that they had within the movie was probably shot better than the actual movie.
And then she followed it up by, actually, the best filmmaking in this was the ultrasound.
That was some good cinematography.
we get this ending of them just laying in the grave together, and then it fades to the credits. Originally, there was a different ending that tested poorly, which we'll talk about how poorly this movie tested. But the original ending was that it went to a college student who was reciting a short story that they had written, and it's Lindsay Lohan, only she's wearing purple, which is a combination of blue and red.
Hell yeah.
But, I mean, testing poorly, like this movie, I don't know if anyone knows what Cinema Score is, but essentially it's exit polling for movies on the opening weekend. So people will stand outside of the theater and give you little punch cards where you rate the movie on an A to F scale. This is the only movie in 2007 that got an F.
Wow.
And you look at the other movies that got Fs, and a lot of it has to do with misleading trailers, kind of making you think you're going to go see one movie and it's a different movie. And I think that's really what happened with this movie. Is it was sold as like a teen slasher movie, like kind of like I Know What You Did Last Summer, and
There's
it's not
no
that
slashing.
at all. No.
Yeah.
Where was the slashing?
I didn't get my slashing.
Let me pose this question, because this movie was kind of coming out during Lindsay Lohan's downfall. You know, like everything was falling apart around her personally. Do you think that had possibly anything to do with the reviewers not liking, like, because you just said, I didn't hate the movie. It has some elements. Do you think maybe that some of what was going on in her personal life did drag the movie down?
No, I think it's pretty bad.
I'm not saying would this movie have been like a blockbuster hit, but, you know, do you think it would have done as poorly if everything that was going on wasn't going on at that time?
I mean, I think with us hearing about all of this backlash, like the Britney Spears stuff that's starting to come out now, where it's like the way that she was treated by the media at the time, like I think there might be a little bit of truth to that. And Lindsay got kind of caught up in that mid 2000s of just bashing on teen female stars. So there might be some truth to that. However, this movie does not have anything redeeming enough to make you think that it was anything other than just a bad movie. Like there may be some truth, but I think ultimately this was just a bad movie and people saw it as a bad movie.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was like a boycotting Lindsay kind of thing, but I feel like any sort of that attention that she was garnering at that time, if anything, would have gotten more of an audience.
Yeah, I think if you want to say like, did this movie win all of those Razzies because of the Lindsay Lohan stuff? You could probably say yes, because the Razzies are a shitty organization that kind of politicize things. And this movie won 8 of 9 in a year where Norbit was released. Like, are you really saying that this is much worse than Norbit? You can't say that.
You mean Oscar winner for best makeup? Norbit?
Actually?
Nominee.
I thought it won that year.
I don't know if it won.
Get out of here.
Because I thought the joke is Oscar nominee Norbit.
Okay, well, while Ben's looking that up, I do have a question for all of you. For the twins, Dakota and Aubrey, how far does that connection actually go? Because I did want to know if Dakota could feel all the horrible things Aubrey was going through, could they also feel great things?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it just awful?
No, I there was another little inconsistency. When they're pulling up to the piano guy's house, Dakota starts to suffocate because Aubrey's losing air.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you science math people can help me out here, but if she's suffocating at that point, the entire time it takes to get to her, I feel like that's too long if it was already affecting her that much. But then also, why wasn't she out of breath the entire time? And if running out of breath is a symptom that causes your twin to feel it, you're telling me that every time they've ever like run a lap in gym class that the other one didn't feel winded?
I didn't think of it as suffocation. I thought it was just as hyperventilation, which is why I was able to forgive that. I guess if you want to think that she's suffocating, sure.
I didn't like it.
And I think maybe that's why Lindsay Lohan's character didn't want to have sex with her boyfriend, is because she's already getting these random orgasms from the sex Dakota's having.
Hey!
Hi-oh.
I mean, when she shaves her legs, does the other one just wake up hairless?
Yeah, and when she dyes her hair, their hair color is the same. Again, it's obviously dyed.
Because it's not just when they got hurt. Like when the piano guy hit Aubrey, punched her, she fell to the floor. Dakota did.
Yep.
So it's not even just oh, you lost a limb, the limb is gone. It's literally like you're being pushed through space
Nah, that one was just because she was looking into a scrying mirror. That's where the owl comes in.
And when they did like the little video flashback sequence, when one of them was like one of them hurt their foot at the beach and the other one was crying or something, like they kind of did that too.
It just wasn't thorough. And there was no definition to the cause for any of it. It was all, hey, here's this thing. We'll tell you when it's in effect, and you'll just have to deal with it.
It's all the pain and misery and none of the happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that I felt it was very superficially pushed in at us, where there were quantity over quality. And that doesn't make a good movie, obviously. You can't just cram in a bunch of stuff and make it meaningful for anyone.
And if you want to throw in a curveball that it is not a real thing, like at least have some interior logic to it so that I can at least just be like, okay, you've established that that's how it works. I'm willing to just accept how it works. Kind of like Back to the Future time travel stuff. Like you've established that that's how it works. Fine. I'm along for the ride to kind of be like, okay, that's how it works.
And this wasn't an excessively long movie either. I think a couple more minutes of meaningful description, whether it's more infomercials, more things that Dakota finds online, like you had opportunities to explain yourself and you just let the audience go, I guess.
Or bring the FBI back and have them solve the case. I don't know.
I think the thing we're missing in all this is that the dad bought a kid.
Yes. Yes.
He bought Aubrey.
Yep.
Like, what is, how much?
$11 a month.
I don't know if it's worth it, honestly.
I don't know if that's true. But that's how much the mom left when Dakota found her dead body in the envelope from the dad.
Probably use the other money for something great.
Yeah.
Fix, man.
Oh, I was going to say like a trampoline or something.
Pole dancing lessons for Dakota.
Yeah.
That's why she only walks around the pole, because it's only $11 worth. We really didn't even talk about the whole idea that this movie forces you to think about, which is nature versus nurture.
I mean, does it really make you think about that?
It has the setup to allow you to discuss whether it was nature versus nurture, why Aubrey didn't become a stripper.
If you dig deep hard enough, yeah.
It's got the potential to go there, but it doesn't attempt to go there at all.
No, I'm not saying the movie should. I'm saying we didn't even talk about it. Like, that's something inherent in a separated at birth twins movie situation.
Are there a lot of those?
No, there's not.
The movie Twins, that's kind
Three
of the
Identical
nature
Strangers.
versus nurture.
3 Identical Strangers is probably the closest, and that's a documentary. So
I was going to say, that's real.
I still haven't watched that one.
It's way
you
better
should watch
than
that
this.
tonight.
Well, Wesley, what else do you have for us today? I'm sure you have all sorts of things you looked at.
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
What's up with that cat's butt?
I know. Were those its balls?
I think so. That was weird, right?
I swear they call the cat a she as well. So that's why I was extra confused.
It definitely had an extra something. No shaming, no shaming. But
I just felt that was so odd having, how do we make this cat make it one of those Egyptian hairless ones? Yeah, that's
then
weird.
give it a giant ball. This movie, you want to hear my alternate title?
Yeah.
Parent Trap 2, There Will Be Blood.
Yes.
There you go.
That's a great
Very
title.
nice.
Thank you. I also looked it up. Lindsay Lohan's first IMDb credit was on The Letterman Show, as her credit was the trick-or-treater dressed up as garbage. And it's nice to see that her acting after 15 years later without losing her origins, you know?
Absolutely.
Full circle, baby. Full
Man,
circle.
see, I feel so bad.
Yeah. Well, I also feel even worse for this person, because when they ran the credits, they ran it in alphabetical order. And the first person listed in this movie was a character named Fat Tina.
I love you, Wesley.
And she's also the first person we see in the movie because she's the super skinny owner of the strip club, is Fat Tina.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ben, are we going to play a game?
We are going to play a game today.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
And Dylan's going to play.
What?
Oh, Dylan.
Yeah, because I know Dylan knows who all these people are, and that's the reason that he's playing.
Okay.
So this game is called And the Twins.
Dylan was the correct choice. He's the only one laughing at that.
I'm going to give you an actor or actress that I was surprised to learn had a twin. And you need to tell me if their twin is the same sex as them or a different sex.
Okay.
Okay. There are 11 of them, 60 seconds on the clock.
Shit.
And away we go. Ashton Kutcher.
Male.
Correct. Eva Green.
Female.
Correct. Giovanni Ribisi.
Male.
Incorrect. John Hader.
Female.
Incorrect. Joseph Fiennes.
Male.
Correct. Kiefer Sutherland.
Really? Huh. Female.
Correct. Linda Hamilton.
Female.
What?
Correct. Parker Posey.
Male.
Correct. Rami Malek.
Female.
Incorrect. Scarlett Johansson.
Female.
Incorrect. Vin Diesel.
Male.
Correct. How do you do?
7.
7 out of 11. You're a winner, Dylan. Congratulations.
Yay, Dylan!
Points on the board for the guests.
Yeah, actually, just to say, can I tell a quick story?
Sure.
Okay. Emily, Linda Hamilton, the reason why I know that she has a female twin is if you've ever watched the extended cut of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, they do a scene where they're removing Arnold's chip or whatever, and they're doing it like a full rotate, like their camera's like fully rotating around them. That was filmed with Linda Hamilton's sister. That was always the person facing the back of the where her back was facing the camera, so that they could do that. So they had to like mimic the whole thing, so it took some practice. Once again, James Cameron going way over and beyond to get something that was like 2 minutes.
Quick side note. That game was originally going to be which twin is more talented. The one I didn't know existed or the one that I knew. So, Emily, you got a new segment for us today.
I do. And it's called Lessons Learned by Emily.
I'm learning.
Because we can all learn something from every movie we watch. So as a child piano prodigy, which I'm not, but, I thought I was for a little bit, I played piano up through 8th grade. And I still remember the time that my piano teacher and I had that same conversation of, I think I'm going to quit.
Which hand do you not want?
Yeah, so here's my lesson that I learned. I need to pick up piano lessons again and apologize to Doug. I'm sorry, Doug. Yeah. So don't piss off your piano teacher. Woo!
How many people has Doug killed?
I don't know.
Oh, so
None.
Not 0?
None.
Oh, okay.
None. Doug, you're great. We love you.
We need to get in contact with some piano teachers and find out how they feel about this movie. Like if they feel like they're the heroes.
Was there a giant petition backlash for piano teachers?
I don't know about you. I never plan to talk about this movie again after we're done recording today. Dylan, do you have a review for us?
It was an attempt at something. I don't know what that attempt was, but it had some good parts, but for the most part, it's like a 90-10. 90% horrible, 10% decent. How about this? Half a finger. Half a lost hand.
Half a lost hand, so 10%. No, half a lost hand.
I was going to say, if you got
50%.
2 hands, I only give it 1 hand. I don't give it 2 hands.
So you gave it half of a lost hand.
Yeah.
So that's a 1/4.
We need to work through this one.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't think
like a
it
2
through.
out of 8, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like I said, 1/4.
But you also said 90-10.
Too many numbers, Dylan.
Welcome to Dylan's math segment. All right, well, I'm going to give the intro this week about as much love as I had for this movie. So, and now it's time to play a game or whatever. I will ask some questions, and then you guys are going to answer. You're going to get a point for a good one. You don't if it's not as good. Just try and make more sense than this movie, and you'll be okay, I guess.
Okay.
So do you want to play or something?
Yeah.
Yay!
All right, now
Got
we can
some
get into it.
excited twits.
So question 1 is going to be a Wesley's Random Question. Is there a better movie genre than Separated at Birth twin story? I say no. So let's make an existing movie even better. I'll give you each 3 characters to choose from, and you need to tell us about your random character's long-lost twin. We are going to start with Dylan. And Dylan, your options are Luna Lovegood, Batman, or Leeloo Dallas.
Let's try Leeloo Dallas.
Okay, who is that?
From Fifth Element.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was my guess. Leeloo's the girl, right?
Orange hair.
Yeah. Okay.
And while Dylan prepares his long-lost story, let's talk to Emily.
Yay!
Emily, what have you been watching recently, or what do you want to talk about?
I finally finished not only reading Watchmen, but now I have finished watching the short series from 2019, and I loved it. Oh,
yeah.
It was so good. Everything about it. There were really great match cuts, great mysteries, great callbacks to the comics, and not as much of the Zack Snyder. They're superheroes, and we like them. It showed them as assholes like they were supposed to be. And it was really fun to have this dark, twisted world continue. So I had a great time.
Would you think you would have enjoyed it as much if you hadn't read the comics?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Interesting.
For me, I think I enjoyed it more because, so not that I wouldn't like it as much, it's just the other way around. Because I think I still would have loved it, but I wouldn't have realized how much they took this universe and built something really fresh and unique from that universe that we have had so much knowledge from the 80s on. And so it's not that I wouldn't have liked it as much in that sense. I liked it more because I read the comic.
See, a lot of the twists, though, that happen, like, have no impact if you have no basis in the novels or in the graphic novel.
Like what?
I don't want to spoil Watchmen.
Okay, we'll talk.
Okay.
I can't read, so that's why I ask.
Emily, you were also a guest on St. Paul Filmcast.
Yes, I was.
How did that go? What was that about?
Nick had me on to talk a lot about books and movies and our show. And we had a really great time. It was just an hour, the two of us just chatting it up. He showed me all sorts of comics that he had. It was really fancy because we had like a plexiglass between the two of us. And we just had a great time talking about books and movies and how I don't know a lot, but I'm learning and how cool it is.
Books are cool. All right, we gave
Books
Dylan
are
way
cool.
too much time. All right, Dylan. So tell us about Leeloo Dallas's long lost twin.
Lolu Phyllis?
Sure.
Lolu Phyllis, Leeloo's lost twin sister. If Leeloo is the most important thing in the universe, she is the least important thing in the universe. She works a 9-to-5er at a Dunkin' Donuts, chilling out that coffee, doing her damnedest to try and make it day by day, living in the smog of New York in the movie. So she lives below the dirt cloud. That's all she can afford. Her hair is green because it just is. And she's a bit on the portly side, considering how Leeloo is just so thin, trim, and knows what she's doing. She's also one of the most uncoordinated people you would ever meet. She just trips over her own feet. Just the exact opposite of what Leeloo would become.
So for Lolu Phyllis, how did she get separated from Leeloo?
When the Montechewans came to the Egyptian temple, she was there. She was in like a little side box in the corner, and they just completely forgot about her. She, just covered in dust. Just, come on. How often does the great evil come? Like what was it like every 5,000 years or something like that?
Yeah,
You're going to forget.
5,000.
You're going to forget about that box sitting in the corner that is her sister.
It's because Aziz wasn't shining enough light into the corner.
Yep.
Come on.
Ben, your turn. Your 3 choices are Jojo Betzler from Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
Lucy Whitmore from 51st Dates.
Okay.
Or Mufasa from The Lion King.
I'm going to go with Lucy Whitmore.
Yes.
And while Ben takes a little bit of time here, Dylan, what have you been watching recently?
Being stuck at home and everything, I've been watching a lot of The Good Wife. I've been rewatching that show with Juliana Margulies. It's a show that was on CBS. I have Paramount Plus, so I've been watching that. It's all about a woman whose husband was like the state's attorney, and he has to resign from a sex scandal. And also he's being arrested for supposed like bribery and stuff like that. So she has to now, he's going to prison, so now she has to pick up the pieces and raise her 2 kids.
Is this a comedy?
No, drama.
Okay.
Actually kind of dramedy. It's got some moments where it's kind of funny because they have a lot of really good returning characters that all are kind of quirky and weird. Like one of the judges is a massive liberal, and like before they even start the trial, like he'll do like, the newest one was Occupy Wall Street, and he's like, let's take a moment of silence for all those brave people in the Occupy Wall Street movement. Just kind of like, just odd, quirky characters are in the show, and it's really solid. Michael J. Fox is in it for some episodes, and he plays like an evil lawyer. He's kind of a jerk, but he's really, really good at it too. But no, it's a fun show. I like it.
I have never seen it, and to be honest, you didn't sell me. But anyway.
It's one of those shows where you kind of have to watch it to really kind of go, yeah, this is kind of a good show.
Okay.
Well, we're not going to let Ben get any more time, though. You can tell us later.
All right, Ben. So tell us about Lucy Whitmore's long-lost twin.
Yeah, her twin brother, Tidy Blackless. He lives in Detroit, works as a bicycle courier that specializes in delivering pineapples. At least he does, until one day, the same day, in fact, that Lucy crashes her car, that he falls from his bike, and from that moment has a completely eidetic memory. He can remember everything. Even things that he wasn't necessarily a part of. Like, he remembers that he's basically a walking, talking encyclopedia. But then anything that comes to his mind that day, the next day, he loses it forever.
So he can't make new memories?
He can make personal memories, but like the information that he's able to access in the day, he loses the next day and can never get again. So he's an encyclopedia where every time that information is read, you can rip the page out of the encyclopedia and throw it away because it can never be a part of his knowledge again.
So he's slowly getting dumber and dumber and dumber.
Yes.
At least his potential is lessening every day. That's tragic.
Yeah. He also falls in love with Adam Sandler.
I mean, who wouldn't?
The actor, not the character from 50 First Dates, who's a different person.
I thought it was going to be one of his FBI cameos that he makes to get away from all the people.
No.
Okay, Ben, I asked the same thing for Dylan, but how did the twins get separated at birth? Or separated? Because I shouldn't say at birth.
Yeah, actually, the separation happened at the zoo in Hawaii.
Oh.
So it was actually Sean Astin's fault, as you might imagine most things are. They were at the zoo, and Sean Astin jumped into the monkey cage, and while the dad was distracted, a family came along and took Tidy with them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was tragic. Like, they searched for hours before giving up and moving on.
Just hours.
Now this sounds like a Joe Dirt story.
Right?
So they just gave up? They're like, well, we didn't like that one anyway.
Yeah, they figured that, but we already got the one. Nothing bad will ever happen to her, so like we don't need the other one.
On to question 2. We're going to have a little bit of a debate here. So this isn't the last time that Lindsay Lohan acted, but should it have been? I'd like to hear some banter.
Be nice to her. But okay, let's keep going.
I mean, this movie was bad.
I know, but she wasn't the worst thing.
That's true. She was not the worst thing about this movie.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of what was worse.
The direction, the writing. Yeah.
There was no green. Okay, got it. So I'd like to hear a little banter between the two of you about what was the worst career-killing movie of all time. We're going to start with Ben making your point first.
Yeah, so riding high on the success of the Shrek and Austin Powers franchises, Mike Myers was seen as an A-list comedic actor at the time until he made The Love Guru, and his career has not recovered since. Now, this movie not only killed his career, but it's flat out a terrible movie, and I know this because I sat down and watched it this morning.
Aye.
This movie was terrible when it came out, and it somehow has aged worse. The comedy is entirely shticky, with many running jokes throughout the movie that didn't land the first time, let alone the 10th time they tried the same joke. The cultural appropriation is offensive and lazy, and there are long stretches of the movie where jokes aren't even attempted. And this leaves the movie to rely on the story, which there essentially is very little story. And when they do try to have a story, it tosses the plot points aside from major characters every opportunity it gets. One minute he cares about something, the next minute he doesn't. And for some reason, when comedy doesn't land, it seems to fall much flatter than an action, drama, or thriller movie when it doesn't land, because so much of the creativity of the story and script is thrown behind the jokes, leaving everything else as filler. The movie's terrible, unfunny, and rightly so, it killed Mike Myers' career.
All right, Dylan, what's yours?
Mine is the 1995 movie Cutthroat Island, starring Matthew Modine and Gina Davis. And this completely ruined Gina Davis's career. She, in 1989, won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. She was in Thelma and Louise, The Fly, bunch of movies in the 80s where she was a rising star. Then she married Rennie Harlan and made Cutthroat Island. Cutthroat Island, it's a boring action-adventure movie where it looks more like a stunt show than anything else, where all the actors are doing are just running as explosions are happening around them, and the explosions aren't even really that great. The acting and the writing is absolutely atrocious. It's no wonder that after this, they didn't make a pirate-based movie after this until they came along with the Pirates of the Caribbean film series. The special effects are bad. You can tell when they're on a green screen, or it just looks horrible. It bankrupted an entire production studio, and it's considered one of the biggest flops of all time.
I'm going to give you 15 seconds to attack Ben's.
Ben, I'm sorry. There are actually some moments where I did watch The Love Guru yesterday, and there were some moments I actually laughed at. Stephen Colbert and Jim Gaffigan. I actually laughed at some of their scenes because I love me some Stephen Colbert. He makes me giggle. And even Mike Myers had a couple of stuff where I kind of went, oh, that's funny. There's actually something there. And this movie, I believe, has started to build a cult following behind it.
And cut. Back to you, Ben.
First of all, Muppet Treasure Island came after Cutthroat Island, so it didn't kill the pirate movie. In fact, Muppet Treasure Island may be the pinnacle of pirate movies. Gina Davis of Stuart Little fame, who won a Golden Globe for acting in the 2000s, you can hardly say that this movie, Cutthroat Island, killed her career. Maybe it derailed it, but it definitely didn't kill it. Plus, Cutthroat Island is one of those early to mid-90s pirate swashbuckling movies that has amazing production design and some decent stunts. And while it's a huge financial flop, there are some fun moments within it. And since I didn't invest money in the movie, its financial success does not impact me at all. I don't care that it bombed at the box office. It's got some fun parts, and it's got tremendous production design, just like Hook. And as far as the funny parts in Love Guru, they're so few and far between that at that point, you're just grasping at straws. It's like being lost in a desert with no water and then finding a drop of water. And you're like, thank God this will sustain me. But that does not make it funny. If you watch those clips on their own, outside of the context of the movie, they suck because this movie sucks.
And Dylan, what do you have to say to that?
Well, I would argue the fact that another reason why Cutthroat Island is a way worse movie is the length. At least you're not having... This movie is a 2-hour, 4-minute long movie where, again, the stunts and the special effects do not look that great. The soundtrack is pretty abysmal as well. But at least Love Guru, it's only an hour and 27 minutes. You're in and out. It's done. It's over. Cutthroat Island, you're sitting there for 2 hours of a movie that goes nowhere, and goes nowhere very slowly.
On to number 3.
Yeah, interesting debate. So let's wrap this up with question 3. What's better than twins, am I right? I mean, the science behind how cells divide and sometimes become 2 babies?
Oh, stop.
Oh, yeah. I think there's more opportunity there for a new movie about twins. So please pitch your brand new original movie idea for a movie about twins. We'll start with Dylan again.
Steve and Doug, twin brothers and thrill seekers who do everything together. They've climbed, jumped, and or dove down some of the most dangerous terrain ever seen on the planet Earth. That was until a year ago when Doug was horribly injured, losing both of his legs, and being told that, yes, he can walk again with the use of prosthetics, but he'll never be the thrill seeker that he once was. But now, Steve does the thrill seeking for the both of them. Using his GoPro live streaming camera, Doug can now see the world and the thrills he loves through his brother's eyes. But on Steve's next thrill, solo canyoning the beautiful canyons in Kailua Kona, Hawaii, an earthquake strikes and Steve loses his grip, tumbles violently down the canyon, all while his brother watches in horror as the camera cuts off. Fearing his brother is badly hurt or dead, Doug makes the choice, despite what others say, to go and get his brother out of there. Will he get his brother in time to rescue him? Find out in this action-packed drama of brotherly love and heroism, hanging by a thread.
Ooh, I didn't know where you were going to go with that. I want to know, Dylan, do you want to star twins or do you want to star one person to be both like Lindsay Lohan did in 2 movies?
It's a great question.
I think it would be more, it would probably be a lot cheaper to get one actor to play both roles. And also, since it's the whole idea, you're really not going to see them both together on the screen at the same time for a good chunk of the film.
Okay.
All right, Ben, let's hear your original twin pitch.
One of the things I find most interesting are movies that choose to tackle ethical and moral questions, particularly related to science and science fiction ideas. So my movie opens on a young adult male who's been selected to be part of a research study where he'll undergo a series of tests that will put him through moral decision-making. The movie will work through a series of flashbacks to his younger years in a similar way to how Slumdog Millionaire uses flashbacks with each new question. After a test is introduced, we'll jump back to his younger self, where he will have made a moral decision similar to the test he is taking in the present day. This will happen several times throughout the movie, with small inconsistencies beginning to show up between the flashback self and the present day self, and even inconsistencies within the flashbacks. The third act will center on the reveal that this man has spent his entire life as part of a research study on the effects of nature versus nurture. This study was achieved by separating the twins at birth and raising them in a community filled with other identical twins also being tested on, and some researchers playing the roles of parents. We will then see a sequence where the results of the tests that the twin took are revealed as we get a sense of who the quote-unquote good twin is. The movie ends with the twins face-to-face, the final test being that one of the twins must die so the other can live. And it's going to be very David Lynchian in its way of kind of really leaving the audience confused. And I want it to be directed by Denis Villeneuve and starring Justice Smith. And the working title for my movie is called The Study.
Wow. It's a very science fiction serious movie that I wanted to see right now. Also, how horrifying. It's like the Truman Show, but with twins. But no one's actually watching it. Like, they have everything fabricated in this world. And then my thought was, how did they start this? Like, who was the first twin and how did they bring this community? Or did they just kidnap babies like Star Wars?
Do you want an answer? Because I have an answer to that.
Yeah.
And it's the coolest thing I learned throughout my 7 years of college. Okay, here's what it is. I learned in one of my classes that you can give birth to a clone of yourself.
What?
Or give birth to an identical copy of yourself. And there's a way that if you go in the early stages of the formation of the blastocyst, which is the first 8 to 16 cells, you can splinch off 2 or 3 cells and then freeze them. And then if you save them for 20 years until that person that was born is at reproductive age, you can implant their own cell into them as an embryo, and that will develop, and they could give birth to a child identical to them exactly. So my idea is using that idea of taking these blastocysts of 2 early cells and then implanting them in 2 different women and giving birth. So then it's basically a factory of identical twins that they're pushing out just for this research study.
Have any of you heard of the movie called The Boys from Brazil?
No.
It was a movie starring Gregory Peck where he played Joseph Mengele if he had survived.
Don't know who that is.
Joseph Mengele was a Nazi doctor who experimented on twins, believe it or not.
Cool. Meaning not cool.
But what they were trying to do was they were trying to replicate Hitler's life by impregnating women with Hitler's seed and then trying to hit the points in Hitler's life to hopefully trigger his mind to then go back to wanting to be Hitler. So it's kind of that same idea, but again, it's like the 70s or the 80s. So it's more going with the idea of eugenics than than science.
Hitler's seed also is only 50% Hitler. So trying to recreate an exact Hitler with that way is not feasible.
So there'd just be a lot of ladies in these towns.
I'm not necessarily doing the idea of giving birth to yourself. I'm taking the idea of taking out the cells at the early stages and then using that to make twins, like really fabricating these identical twins.
Got it.
You guys want to hear my twin movie pitch?
Yeah.
I don't have anything else but the title.
Okay.
Oh, Christ.
Twinning.
Nice. I think there is a movie called Twinning.
That's all right. Anyway.
Well, fuck it, Wesley.
Can we get a remake of Twins with The Rock and Kevin Hart, please?
Ooh, yeah, please.
I don't know what that is, but I know who those people are.
It was a movie with Arnold
You've never
Schwarzenegger and
seen
Danny
Twins?
DeVito.
Don't be surprised she hasn't seen Twins.
I have seen so many movies.
Twins is kind of one of those quintessential 80s movies that I grew up watching a lot.
I will forever mourn the fact that we never got the Triplets movie where Eddie Murphy was going to be the third.
Yes.
That would have been awesome.
This was so fun, you guys. Good
Thanks.
job.
Thank you.
Hooray.
Way to twin and do excellent on both ends, but one twin is the better.
Okay.
And now you'll fight to the battle, fight to the death.
All right. So back to question one. With the random character you were assigned, and you had to tell us about their long lost twin. Dylan, you chose Lilu Dallas and gave us Lolu Phyllis.
Name was great.
The name was great. You had me right up front. Most of this was just the antithesis of Lilu, which I think is the right way to go about a long lost character in a movie. Like, you really have to flesh out what their differences are, and that's how you're going to do it with a long lost twin.
And green hair.
Green hair. I love how you just kind of threw that one to the side. Uncoordinated. She can't really afford much. Ben, Lucy Whitmore, same thing. Great name. Tidy Blackless. Just perfect. I like that he is a bicycler who delivers pineapples. The idea of him being a walking encyclopedia, but only for one day, that idea really intrigues me.
It is very creative.
Yeah. And I think you both gave really good responses to Emily's follow-up. Dylan, you nailed the Montechiwan. I'm a huge Fifth Element fan, so bonus points for that. But the fact that she just is left in the corner, I thought was really smart too.
It was so funny.
Ben being separated at the Hawaii Zoo is also really good because of like the origin, and then imagining the dumb Sean Astin character brother and that jumping into the monkey cage is also very funny. The thing that it came down to was the really cool thing in Ben's answer. It was more of a cool idea for something and not necessarily about the twins, where Dylan's having Lolu be probably the least important person in the universe, I thought was just a great cherry on top of that one. So that question one's going to Dylan. Question two, the debate over what movie was the worst career-ending movie of all time. You both made some really good points. Picked some very unfortunate movies for some very unfortunate careers that were definitely slighted by these movies.
I would like to preface this that I have not seen either of these movies, and I kind of want to see one of them now.
Cutthroat Island, you definitely want to see.
You'll find out.
Oh, I don't know. So The Love Guru for Mike Myers is absolutely a horrible movie. I think, Ben, you laid it out pretty clearly about why it sucked. And I do think that really tanked Mike Myers because he was on thin ice already. And Dylan, Cutthroat Island, Gina Davis, definitely coming in hot to that era of her movie career. So that's a real bad turn when you have a movie that just isn't that good. Unfortunately, the defense for Dylan's not the defense for Dylan. Dylan, you made a point of the explosions weren't that great and it just kind of looked bad. Ben, your attack was basically that they aren't that bad. And then Dylan, your defense again was that, well, they are that bad. So that kind of went nowhere. But Ben, I think, really nailed it with the Gina Davis of Stuart Little fame. And that it derailed and did not kill her career. And I think the final thing was that, Dylan, you ended up making more of an argument about which movie was better and not which career was tanked by the movie.
How it was killing their career.
It was supposed to be which movie's worse.
Either way, I want to see Cutthroat Island.
Fuck.
Yeah, I still think that Love Guru is the worst movie. So That one is going to Ben. So that's question 3 at a tie. Pitching a new original twin movie.
I loved both of yours so much. I really did. I don't know, Dylan, it's the sap in me. I was just like picturing this really amazing adventure with these brothers, and I was like all heart swept up in emotions. And then Ben, you got me with all the science. Oh, it was so cool. Anyway, so Wesley had to help me with this one.
So Steve and Doug, thrill-seeking brothers. I really liked the way that you use the twins by having them be like inseparable and then forced to be separated because of their activity choices and that physical demand, and then having him use a GoPro and then his brother actually sees him fall into the volcano. I think that's pretty cool, but I think that's kind of where it falls short. Ben, I just was pretty enraptured the entire time about the idea of it. I think it's such a cool idea. We had talked about it at the end of the episode, nature versus nurture in twin movies. So I think that's a really good thing to include in a movie about twins. And I don't think that I've seen anything like that at all, where studies have been done on twins like that in the way. And like, it almost reminded me of like a Memento thing with all the flashbacks and starting to put that whole picture together by the inconsistencies versus like, it's a show, not tell. And I really like that idea. And Dylan, I again, yours was really good, but I just feel like it wasn't quite as original as Ben's. So that one is going to Ben as well. So Ben's going to win this week for 2-1. But Dylan did get the point from Ben's game, so it was 2-2 this week.
Ah!
Yeah, all right.
Suck it, Ben. Right. It's a tie.
I don't need to suck it.
Great job, both of you.
Great job, Dylan.
Thank you.
Excellent answers this week. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Dylan, for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to plug before you leave?
Lately, I've been watching a lot of Paramount Plus, so I'll plug Paramount Plus. I think that's it's pretty cheap, pretty damn good streaming service.
He's not being paid to say this, I hope.
No, he's definitely not.
For all you The Good Wife fans.
No, I've been watching a lot of Good Wife, RuPaul's Drag Race, and Ink Master.
And RuPaul's Drag Race has an
Race.
Acquaintance of mine on right now.
Ben told me that. I am so excited to eventually get to watch that season. That is so awesome.
Yay!
You can't love yourself. How the hell are you going to love anybody else? Gotta get named
Dylan. That's perfect. I love that.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, Dylan, for being on.
Yep,
and for those who are still listening, thank you. And please subscribe, rate, share us with a friend or two. Go back and listen to some old episodes. They're all just wonderful. Dylan has been on Disturbia and The Mist and Saw 4. Check out Dylan if you appreciated hearing his sultry voice.
Yeah.
And again, follow us on social media at IDYP_podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and hit us up at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com.
And also, if you want to listen to more of Emily's voice, check out Nick's podcast at St. Paul Filmcast. I was on his most recent episode. It was wonderful.
Yes. And next week, please join us for our Oscars special. We're going to be talking about some of this year's Best Picture nominees, as well as some of the best pictures of the 90s and 2000s. So we're going to really just cover 20 years of best pictures of the Oscars. And the following week after that, we'll be watching the movie Once, and we'll be having on our friend Garrett. So join us for that fabulous movie.
And we get to hear from Garrett. Sorry.
We do. Is that where you want to go with it?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know either. Just cut me.
Okay.
Just cut me.
Well, no, I'm not going to cut you.
That's life. Sometimes people get cut.
Wow.
Wrap it up. Put a bow on it.
Credits. Done.